How's everybody doing? All right. How's the last couple of weeks been since you were here? All right, good. Well, we're looking forward to being with you again today. The room's nice and full, which is nice. The traffic must not have been as bad. So I have the honor to introduce Mr. Titus right now. He's going to kick it off today. And, I probably will be repetitive when I say this about Titus because I get asked about him often, and sometimes I just tell people about him. But, I'm not an easy person to impress. Being around the block, it's a little tougher, right? And so he impresses me in everything he does, in every interaction, and really in the running and the leadership of this program, because, leadership is one of the things in this program. But if you look at all of the portions of this program, I think for a young man in this business, he lives every portion of this program. From relationships to connection to leadership to influence to all of the things that we'll cover. So let's give a round of applause for Titus.
All right, hey, keep it going for the best sports coat in the business. Dave right there. How's that look? How are we doing? We having a good morning?
Yes, sir.
How was your last 2 weeks? Amazing. I love it. If it wasn't amazing, would you still say that? No? So I know you're honest. I love it. Thank you. Guys, I'm so excited to be here with you today. The two topics that we're going to talk about is building relationships and gaining influence. So I get to kick us off, and we're going to talk about relationships to get started. I want to make sure you guys know just how impressed I am. I love the engagement in the team page that we have there. Are you guys enjoying that? Learning, getting motivated, staying connected with each other? How many people know that that's also a way to build, maintain, keep, and develop relationships? 2018 is different than 2008. It's different than 1996. The way in which that we communicate, the way in which that we build relationships and stay engaged is different today, yeah? Okay, so make sure that you're engaged in that space. One of the things I want you to realize about relationships is that you have to meet people where they are. And sometimes where they are may not be where you want to go or be. And then you have to do this really intricate, complex thing. You have to get over it. You have to get past that discomfort of wanting to stay in your comfort zone. How many people know that it's really hard to grow in your comfort zone? Yeah, there are no growing pains in your comfort zone. It's super comfortable, right? It is the most enjoyable space. Babies don't want to come out of the womb, man. It's the most comfortable place. It's so safe and wonderful. But they don't get to grow till they come out of that space, yeah? So we're going to talk about growing today, but doing it with relationships. I want to read this to you. Relationships, friends, family, coworkers, even customers. It's pretty universally understood that we can accomplish more when we aren't alone. Learn the keys to identifying and building strong, supportive relationships that help you succeed. Really, at the end of the day, I hope to drive home to you something really important about relationships. Before I do that, there's a section right there in your workbook. I want you guys to take a brief moment, and I want you to jot down what you hope to get out of this. We've done this at every segment, at every fork in the road. We've tried to give you the opportunity to jot down what you hope to get out of the section that we're talking about. Now, the truth is, you don't always get what you were hoping to get. Sometimes you get something completely different. But I want you to take just a brief moment, and I want you to jot down what you're hoping to learn through relationships today. The really interesting and fun thing is when you get to go back and look at these particular sheets in your workbook, you may find out that what you learned was exactly what you were hoping for. You might find out that what you learned was completely different than what you were hoping for, but then you might be extremely thankful that it was. As you're trying to complete those thoughts, I'm going to move us along and keep us on pace this morning. I want to start this way. It's all about relationships. Connecting with others sparks everything into existence. In the previous program sessions, we talked about how everything starts and finishes with communication. We talked about everything rises and falls with leadership. So what is that everything? It's relationships. Everything. I promise you that if you can sit here and quantify, figure out, and kind of go backwards engineering the maze and get back to a place that didn't have anything to do with relationships, then you are far smarter than me, because I have yet to figure that out. So if everything starts and finishes, if everything rises and falls, I want you to know that the everything to your success in personal development, in the growth of your business, in the growth of the person next to you that you're hoping to see results from, it's all about relationships. It sparks everything into existence. As we're talking about this, I'd love for you to just consider that truth. Perhaps maybe allow yourself to come up with an example in your own mind where the relationship did spark that thing into existence that was so special and meaningful to your development or growth. I'm a believer that there was even a relationship between a creator and everything else when he said, "Let there be light," and it sparked everything that we get to see today. I think that everything we do and say is stimulated and started by relationships. And the truth is, sometimes the worst parts of our life are sparked into existence because of a really bad one. How many people know that a bad relationship doesn't just start and begin a bad chapter in your life? Sometimes it can keep you stuck there too. So where it sparks things into existence, sometimes it can keep things right where it is. Relationships matter in a really big way. I know some of you came here and you maybe hoped that this would be more on the personal development side, and maybe some of you came and thought, "I hope that this is more on the business training side." It's impossible. Work-life balance is impossible to remove one from the other. And I want you to understand that this is really the bridge between the two. This is the bridge between the personal development side and what you may have hoped for on the business growth and professional development side. It's relationships. Can you think of a time where they don't matter? Neither can I. Here's where I want to take us next. I want you to understand that when building these relationships at any level for personal or professional reasons, we should consider this. The amount you hope to get should never be more than the amount you're willing to commit to give. So really what we're talking about in this slide, in this moment of this teaching, is takers and givers. You have to make sure that if you want to build, notice I didn't say stay in, I'm talking about building. If you want to build a relationship at any level, a friendship, a marriage, a relationship with your coworker or your employee, you must be willing to commit more than you hope to get. Now, we've heard that, yeah? Am I talking to anybody in this room that has never heard that mindset, that mentality? I mean, it makes for a great bumper sticker, doesn't it? How many people know that you can go get a wristband almost anywhere in the world that tells you that exact sentence right there? And people wear it so proudly. They don't quite do it, believe in it, commit to it, act on it, but boy, can they quote it. Here is the fear that any training, that any coach, this is what keeps Dave, Christy, myself, and any other professional in our field up at night. That we might teach, inspire, and speak to you, and you might get motivated and then do absolutely nothing about it. I promise you that you will see exponential and transformational growth in your life, personally and professionally, if you can actually follow through with this. The easiest things in life are oftentimes the very hardest thing to do. How are you enjoying the bagels? Are they good? They are absolutely not healthy for you. The easiest things in the world to do, maybe to cut some carbs, it's not It's not that radically amazing to understand the conception that if I put in less than I burn, I will lose weight, right? I mean, we don't need a scientific calculator for that, right? Yeah, anybody understand what I'm talking about? The simplest things in life are super hard to execute. Understand that identifying a problem in your business or in your life is really easier than you think. Perhaps a good example could be that the problem could be that one is an alcoholic. Yeah, that's a problem. Identifying an answer to a problem is also really simple. I mean, the answer is right there, but you knew this already. The answer is stop drinking. In this case, start committing to wanting to give more than you get if you hope to build relationships. Here's the hard part. It's the application of an answer to a problem. How many people know that's true? Do you have an employee right now where they get it, they just don't do it? It's not that you've not taught it. It's not that they've not heard it. Perhaps they've yet to learn it, put it into action, and see the results from it. So we oftentimes move on to a different solution because we haven't seen results from the solution that we applied to a problem. How many times do you move on to the next thing in your life, personally and professionally, because you've yet to see the results you were hoping for? Have you ever done that? Too often, somebody said. Yeah. What if the answer was spot on and you just didn't do it right? I want you to understand that as simple as this might be one of the most complex things that we'll talk about in this program. It is the bridge between the personal and the professional development that you can get from this program. Everything comes down to relationships. You get the most out of those in relationships with when you realize that it is your actions of giving that teaches and inspires them to do the same for you and those around them. Monkey see, monkey do. You know, it's crazy that in relationships, we always hope that the person would just say this to me. Gosh, I wish that he would make me feel special. I wish that she understood. I wish the employee. I wish my boss. But with relationships, we have to teach them how we want to be treated, yeah? Are you a great friend? I think so. I hope so, a few people said. Here's the truth. You are in a position to train 24/7 the kind of relationships that you hope to have in your life. If you're surrounded with a bunch of bad relationships, I'm sorry to tell you, perhaps you're not very good at it. Perhaps what you're teaching is what you're getting. You have to understand, you have to realize that you're teaching these people how they're going to treat you. The kind of friends that you want to have, the kind of relationships you want to have professionally and personally. You're always on the clock, I promise. You don't get to take a moment off. Nobody forgets completely what you said to them and how you treated them. Forgiveness is something really special. I've yet to find more than one person ever that was able to completely, utterly, totally forget. You're always on the clock. You have to realize that. And if relationships might be the most important thing that you'll do personally and professionally, then you might want to go all in on this one. Because anything less than what it takes to accomplish this is not going to get it done. It's not even worth your investment. If I go and get an oil change and they tell me that it's, about $900? I'm kidding. If you go where I go, the price is really good. If you go to get an oil change and they tell you that it's $10 and you give them $8, they do not give you an oil change. Yeah? They might give you a fist bump, but they will not give you an oil change. The truth is, you must be willing to go all in on this one, guys. You have to realize that you're on the clock and you're teaching, whether you want that responsibility or not. The quote down here is, only by giving are you able to receive more than you already have. I want to tell you something special about relationships, but also about getting filled up, because we're talking about giving and receiving. I thought to myself one day, how does the pothole always have water in it? I mean, after it rains, the road's like bone dry. But that pothole is wet for days. That sucker just won't get dry. I mean, by the time it empties out, it rains again. You see, that pothole decided to be a bit deeper, not quite as shallow. You know any shallow people? Ouch, yeah, maybe one or two closer to us than we'd like to think. But that pothole's not shallow, it's deeper than the road, yeah? Goes a little further than the surface. And what happens is it digs deep within itself, and when it rains, it's filled up. Now here's the really special thing that I think is interesting. We're talking about if you want to receive, you have to give. That's the way relationships work. When the sun comes out, that pothole gives the water right on back up to the sky, doesn't it? Now, it could be stingy. It could say, nope, I'm going to keep this water for myself. The pothole might be smart enough to understand that that water might become stagnant, not fresh anymore. But what it does is it decides to freely give that water back up to the sky, because it knows that if the clouds get filled up again, that they'll open up and pour down and fill the pothole back up. Now, the pothole is really intentional. Think about this. It doesn't give the water to the street. It doesn't give the water to the grass 10 feet over there. It's very intentional where it gives the water. It is aware of where the giving should go. How many of you think, I give all the time and I don't get any of these relationship stuff? Well, maybe you're giving in the wrong direction. It's also pretty aware at nighttime it doesn't give. How many people know the sun comes out like during the day, yeah? That whole evaporation stuff, there's a timing to it, yeah? So not only does it give of itself so that it can be filled up again, it knows where to give. It also knows what time to give. How many people know that if you're giving at the wrong time or giving in the wrong direction, you might not get anything, and then you might still feel empty and burnt out? Anybody have a relationship? I'm friends with this person. Boy, do they take. Why do you keep giving it to them? Is it their fault? They're hungry and thirsty too, yeah? Think about where you're giving. Think about when you're giving. Does that make sense? Say yeah? Yep. I love it. Let the microphone know that 4 people agreed. I love that. The fastest way to improve your relationships is to make others feel important in every way possible. When we show others that we care about what's important to them, we're really showing them a few important things. The first thing that we're showing them is that we're listening. We talked about in communication that everybody wants so desperately to be heard. Boy, do they want it. You want to make a friend? Get so good at shutting up. Oh my God, if you just stare at somebody and say, here you go, this is going to change your life. If you look at someone and just say, and then what happened? Woo! Boy, you will get some deep relationships when you go, and then what did they say? You start showing people that they matter when you listen to them. The other thing that you're really showing people is that you are others-centered. Any others-centered people in this room? Make as much noise as you can real quick. Any self-centered, selfish people in this room? Make some noise real quick. Oh gosh, we have a whole room of liars in here. The truth is that when you want desperately to show someone that they matter, if you want to make them important, because we know that is a key fundamental principle to building meaningful and lasting relationships, you had better be others-centered. Here's the difference. You know the people that are others-centered because they have an agenda. Woo! How many times has somebody done something for somebody else, but it was really for who? Themselves. Is that others-centered? No. And listen, as good of an actor as you think you are, as good of a pretender as you think you are not that good, I promise. Nobody has come up to you and given you an award for your acting skills, so stop doing it. I promise you that others know when you do something unto them, but it was mostly or even partly unto you. You have to get to the place, just because I told you to realize that the giving puts you in a position to get, you have to start giving and making them matter and not hope that you get the thing that comes on the other side of the equals sign in that equation. That's where that magic comes from. It's not easy. This is why this is the bridge to everything. It's the hardest thing you'll do. If you want to show others that they're important, and when you're doing that, here's what you're really doing. You're showing them that we're valuable. You see, others innately, subconsciously, understand that you're valuable when you do this. The difference between bragging and branding is really just who says it, yeah? When you do these things, you instantly show people that you're valuable without telling them how great you are. And if you want to build relationships, the other person has to see value in investing their time with you. Dave's got a really great quote in his book. He talks about how 99% of the people show up to work and it is not to see or hang out with you. You got to make sure you get that book. It's worth it. Here's the truth. The truth is they're showing up for some reason. And if you're not valuable, they're not going to show up for you. And then there's no relationship. At least not with you. They'll have a relationship with that paycheck, a relationship with those favors. There's going to be a relationship had, I promise you. That's why they're there. It just will not be with you. So if you want to create a lasting and measurable relationship, if you understand the significance of it as it pertains to your growth and success, if you want to quit wasting your efforts and see 2-3 times multiples of your efforts, you need to be the value proposition for that other person. Not your product, not your service. Get over all those fun, amazing, cool things. And start figuring out that none of those things happen before that relationship, or at least it's not sustainable without it. And here's the last thing, attractiveness. Now this goes really hand in hand with the last thing. When you're valuable, people want you. They show up because of you, for you. Let's be honest, we can be vain for just a moment. Anybody want to be seen as attractive to somebody else? Of course. When you do this, when this is the mindset, when we show others that we care about them and what's important to them, we're showing that we are extremely attractive. From across the room, people can see that. I know it's 2018. Right in front of the camera. Killing me, Brian. Killing me. He did a double take. You're going to have to cut it. He went in front of it, and then he walked right down the middle of it. Big round of applause for Brian. Hey, you get to show that you're attractive. You get to show that you're attractive when you show that someone else matters and what is important to them is important to you. There is nothing more attractive than that. I promise. You want to build relationships that stay, that grow, that develop, that add value? Master that one. Here's the other side of this. I want you to know that why who you know matters. We're talking about relationships, and we're talking about that they're going to make all this difference in your life personally and professionally. How many people know that it's not what you know, it's, who you know? Almost all the jobs that a person gets in their lifetime is not because of just a listing in a newspaper. It's because they knew somebody inside the company that said, we got an opening. These relationships, if I can prove to you how much they matter, I'll do it this way. I'll let you know that why who you know matters is because of who they can connect you to. It shortens your workload. Many hands make for People do not want to help you when they are not your friend or in relationship with you. How many people call you on the weekend to help them move? And you go, really? I was going to, get a root canal or something far more entertaining than that, yeah? But what happens is it shortens the workload when you build these relationships, when you have somebody that you can call. One of the cool intro songs, I don't know if you could even tell it, but we played that Lean On Me song during the networking part of this. You got to put yourself in a position to be able to lean on somebody. And so who you know matters. But it's not just about having the quantity of people to lean up against. You have to be somewhat strategic in that. Helps to overcome mistakes. Last week we talked about in leadership, you defining your inner what? Circle. When you have relationships and they're strategic and you have formed them in a way that they don't dissolve very easily, it helps you overcome mistakes. Somebody else can catch that. I can call them at the last minute and they can show up. But people do those kind of things for people that they have a strong, positive, engaging relationship with. You can call me anytime, and I will pick up most of the time. If we're in relationship, I dare you to find a time where I won't come through for you. I'm actually in relationship with a few people in this room, so I'd love to ask this question real quick. How many people know that we have that relationship? How many people in this know, big, loud, yeah, if we're in relationship and you could call me and I'll be there? Yes. I promise you that when you can get that kind of yes from everyone inside your workplace, it will radically transform the workload. It will radically transform how you deal with and overcome these mistakes. We all make these mistakes. I promise you that it's the relationships, who you know, and how closely bonded you are that will offset those mistakes. Stop trying to live a perfect mistake-free life and put the tools in place to be able to deal with them. The last thing is it's important to others. Who you know matters to the person that you want to be in relationship with, yeah? Now we're going to talk about influence later today, but I want you to understand how crucially important it is for you to have meaningful strategic relationships because of not necessarily the bond with that person, but what it shows the next person. Well, gosh, if you're friendly with him,